Hello, everyone. It is our Friday, which is really Thursday. I have another book for you. It is called Counting on Katherine. And I figure since we read biographies, I like reading biographies basically. And this is about someone named Katherine Johnson, who she actually just died back in February. She was 101 years old. So she lived a very long and successful life. But here, and she was a very she loved math and science, and so let's read about counting on Katherine. Katherine loved to count. She counted the steps to the road, the steps to the church, the number of dishes and spoons she washed in the bright white sink. The only thing she didn't count were the stars in the sky. Only a fool, she thought, would try that. Even so, the stars sparked her imagination. What was out there? Katherine yearned to know as much as she could about numbers, about the universe, about everything. So if I were to say a character trait for her, I would say she's curious, and my evidence would be that she wants to know a lot about things like numbers in the universe. Katherine's boundless curiosity, ooh, I was right, turned her into a star student. She was so right, she skipped 3 whole grades. So that would be like you right now skipping 4th, 5th, and 6th grade and going from 3rd grade to 7th grade. And I think that wasn't how old she was, but she skipped 3 grades. She catapulted right past her brother. He wasn't too happy about that. So even though her brother is older than her, she's in a higher grade than him. By the time she turned 10, Katherine was ready for high school. But back then, America was legally segregated, which we know from our studies means separate, by race or by the color of your skin. Her town's high school didn't admit Black students of any age. Katherine burned with fury. She wanted more than anything to keep learning. There was still so much to know. Count on me, Katherine's father told her. By working night and day, he earned enough money to move the family to a town with a Black high school. So, yeah. Katherine loved high school. She was good at every subject, but math was still her favorite. She dreamed of becoming a research mathematician, making discoveries about the number patterns that are the foundations for our universe. In those days, though, there were no jobs as research mathematicians for women. Professions most available to them were teaching and nursing. So Katherine became an elementary school teacher. She liked her job and she loved her student, but she never stopped dreaming about exploring numbers. So she had the obstacle or discrimination of not being able to go to high school at first because she was Black. Now she has another obstacle of not wanting to do the job she wants to because she is a woman. In the 1950s, the U.S. government National Advisory Committee of Aeronautics hired thousands of new employees. It even started hiring Black women as mathematicians. Katherine heard about the mathematician jobs. Her heart raced with excitement. Perhaps her dreams could come true after all. But when she applied for one of the positions, she was told that they were already filled. Katherine had to wait a whole year until new spots opened up. Her patience paid off. She got the job. A few years later, the Soviet Union sent a rocket ship into space, launching a space race with the United States. So everyone kind of wanted to be the first person to the moon or the first person in space. So countries kind of were in a competition. NACA was rolled into a new space agency, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or what we know as NASA. Katherine now found herself at the heart of America's space program. She worked as a computer. Electronic computers were not widely used yet, calculating long series of numbers. All the computers were women. They were given tasks that men thought were boring and unimportant. So they're not really using computers. They're working as a computer because computers didn't really exist back then. That didn't bother Katherine. She knew without her contributions, a spaceship could not reach its destination nor return safely back to Earth. So they were getting jobs that the men didn't want to do. Here's why. Sending a rocket ship into space is like throwing a ball in the air. At first, the force sends the ball up, up, up. But as the energy runs out, the ball's path curves back towards the ground. When it where it lands depends on what angle it was thrown and how high and how fast. Because math is the kind of language, Katherine could ask those questions. How high would the rocket ship go and how fast would it travel using numbers? And her numbers would prove the all important answer. Where would it land? To find out, Katherine plotted the numbers she calculated on a graph. When she joined the points together, they formed a curve. At one end of the line was Earth at the time the rocket ship was launched. At the other was where Earth would be when the ship landed. Katherine's reputation for accuracy and strong leadership skills, she was known for asking plenty of questions, got her promoted to Project Mercury, a new program designed to send the first American astronauts into space. Mercury's mission was going to be dangerous, so dangerous that even the Project Star astronaut, John Glenn, refused to fly unless Katherine okayed the numbers. You can count me in on me, she said. Glenn's spacecraft Friendship 7 orbited the Earth 3 times and returned home safely. Glenn became a national hero. Katherine was promoted again. Now she was asked to calculate the flight path for Project Apollo, the first flight to the moon. Count on me, she said. On July 20th, 1969, the Apollo 11 astronauts walked to the moon. Their feat was celebrated around the world. More triumphs followed. Apollo 12 rocketed to the moon in November 1969. Apollo 13 launched on April 11, 1970. But on the third day of Apollo 13's flight, the worst thing happened, an explosion in space. So this Apollo 13 obviously really did happen, and it's actually a movie. You can ask your parents about it, but it's a rocket went into space, and again, it started to explode. Could the crippled spaceship make it back to the moon? And if it didn't, would it be able to get back home to Earth? The 3 astronauts on board were in grave peril. Commander Jim Lovell told Mission Control, Houston, we have a problem. So there were 3 astronauts on, and they were worried that as it exploded, it was damaged, that they wouldn't make it back to Earth. Back on Earth, Katherine Johnson got the call. Her flight path calculations would have to be done all over again, and perfectly. It would be the toughest challenge of her life. Katherine told Mission Control, you can count on me. She rolled up her sleeves, took a deep breath, and began doing the math. She worked hard and fast. A few hours later, Katherine's calculations were finished. The flight path to return home would take the ship around the far side of the moon. From there, the moon's gravity would act like a slingshot to zing the ship back to Earth. To get home, the crew of Apollo 13 would have to follow Katherine's course exactly by burning off fuel at precise intervals. If the astronauts made a mistake, their ship would drift through space forever. So in space too, there's a lot of gravity that keeps like the moon going where it is, the sun, the planet, everything. So if they get put into one of those pools, they're going to be sucked out into space. Katherine's waited anxiously to hear the astronauts report. Finally, it cracked over the loudspeaker. We've got it. Apollo 13 was back on track. She helped save them. Katherine Johnson had done it. She brought Apollo 13 home. She was no longer the kid who dreamed of what lay beyond the stars. She was now a star herself. And that's just one of the stories about Katherine Johnson. She obviously went on to keep doing things for NASA. Counting on Katherine Johnson. Hope you enjoyed your story. Bye.